World financial markets have breathed a sigh of relief following the announcement of a deal on the European debt crisis. For a while, the emergency summit in Brussels looked like it was going to collapse. But European leaders bargained long into the night and clinched an agreement. It's not as ambitious as some had wanted, but European leaders hope it will be enough to stop the crisis spreading to larger Eurozone economies such as Italy. The Greek Prime Minister, George Papandreou, said his country could now start a new chapter, but on the streets of Athens, many remained sceptical. Europe correspondent Philip Williams reports.
The deal was done, now the people could have their say. But in the streets of Athens, the agreement to slash Greek debt was not exactly welcomed.
I don't think it was a good deal, but it was inevitable. At this moment, Greece has gone bankrupt.
It's a murky deal. Everything here gets worse by the day. God help us.
But it was the market reaction that Eurozone leaders cared about, and to the relief of everyone, they liked it. First in Asia, then in Europe. Markets quickly rallied strongly, a palpable sense of relief. It may not be business as usual, but this was not the day of disaster many had feared.
We have definitely hope, but the problem is we have to focus more on economic reforms, even in Italy, because Italy is still the main patient of the Eurozone right now.
But as the 17 Eurozone leaders gathered in Brussels, they all knew the dangers. The world hoped, expected big things of them. But in the days and weeks preceding this, the definitive summit, cohesion and common purpose were scarce commodities. Angela Merkel warned of the greatest crisis since the Second World War. Italy's Silvio Berlusconi's political life was on the line, and of course the Greeks could tell everyone firsthand the cost of failure. There were tense hours ahead. Imagine his relief when his fellow Eurozone leaders finally agreed. His country's debt would be slashed, the banks would accept the so-called haircut, a 50% write-off of Greek debt.
We've managed to escape from this trap. The fact that we are still here today is an achievement. Today we can close a chapter on the past and start work on a new future for our country.
Also relieved Silvio Berlusconi. He had to offer a new austerity and reform package because of his country's burgeoning debt. In return, Italy gets the benefit of the newly leveraged €1 trillion bailout fund, which can be deployed to stop contagion.
The guarantee is that if we don't honour our commitments, we'll lose credibility. These are commitments and Italy will honour them like it always has.
And from another embattled economy, Ireland, recognition the much criticised Eurozone had finally got its act together.
It's a recognition that at long last European leaders focused on the fundamental questions and made decisions in a decisive manner about them. And I hope this brings about a real improved reaction from all the markets and allows Europe to focus on growth and job creation and getting people back to work.
But perhaps the greatest satisfaction lay with the German Chancellor Angela Merkel. This was largely her plan, demanding more accountability of her neighbours at less cost to increasingly impatient German taxpayers.
I believe we've lived up to expectations and done the right thing for the Eurozone. This brings us one step further along the road to a good and sensible solution. I've always said we won't be able to resolve this overnight, but this will now bring stability.
The size and structure of the bailout fund was perhaps the most anticipated element of the deal. Talk had stretched to €3 trillion. In the end, it's $1 trillion at the bottom end of hopes. But it appears so far enough.
The firewall is really a strong firewall with up to 1,000 billion euro, 1,400 billion US dollar, and we have very strong decisions in terms of economic governance.
It's the stricter oversight that gives respective governments more confidence in each other. The new rules should avoid the Greek situation where debt figures were simply fabricated. But in the end, all of this is about confidence.
I think, again, they have to be fully implemented, as you said, as rapidly and effectively as possible. And I have only to say that what counts is the level of confidence. What I heard in this European Council was the expression of the will of the heads. And that is, in my opinion, extremely important.
There are many details to be decided. Some of the billions may come from China. Already there are discussions. And other emerging economies may also want to park some of their national pot here in Europe. So far, so good, but this isn't the end of the crisis. You may remember back in July, there was another summit and similar predictions. The crisis was over. It wasn't. What this does do is buy valuable time. Philip Williams, Late Line.